Right, I want to talk about three things: emotional intelligence, momentum playing and the skill thereof, and then coaching. Alright, emotional intelligence.
Emotional damage.
I want to speak about how everyone darted Wales. Some of my friends even darted Wales. But for 60 minutes of that rugby game, they were close to taking the victory. So the element that I want to speak of is that everybody needs to have critical thinking. You need to not forget about emotional intelligence. Everyone needs to be doing the research or taking the opportunities to do the research and put the time in. And you can have all the numbers you want, but if you forget about emotional intelligence, you're not going to remember that little bit of motivation that is unforeseen. Players and coaches who have the ability to invigorate emotional intelligence, you bring out an extra percentage of performance that you never really expected to happen. Don't ever forget about that, and always implement that in your life. When you're hiring people, when you are looking at fellow teammates, don't forget that their level of emotional intelligence is sometimes what makes the difference in their performance in certain aspects. Momentum play. So there's been a lot of discussion on the high scoring ability of Super Rugby and why the scores are so high. My perspective is this: the skills are so good that on a counter turnover, there's the ability that there's always going to be a massive change of direction to the certain point where it could be a try or a gain of 60 meters. And then the other aspect is that players are not playing to get tackled on the line. They are playing beyond the tackle line, and that creates momentum. And momentum is one of the principles of rugby. It could be called something else. It could be called continuity, but in my eyes, momentum's the same phrase. When you have momentum, you play all the time. The balls will never still. Offload off the ground, offload through contact, pop pass, the ability to let the ball move forward while you have gone to ground, kick pass. That's momentum building. I don't think we should forget about that. And that's the reason why I think Super Rugby at the moment is number one, so entertaining, but also number two, it's because the skill levels of those players is from 1 to 15 on the field. It doesn't necessarily what number they are, whether they come off the bench or not. Everyone can kick. I think it was the Highlanders reserve number 2 who came on left boot and it went like 50 yards, 50 meters. He would have not known that skill had he not been given the opportunity to learn that skill. And he did it when he was young and he grew up with it, and he became a hooker, so he had other fundamentals that he needed to worry about. But I mean, being able to kick the ball left foot to 50 meters as a skill just in your back pocket when you have to scrum, do line out, look to be physical, look to contribute as another flanker. There's so many elements, and for him to still continue to do that is amazing. And then the third one's coaching. Yeah, Warren Gatlin left Wales.
Emotional damage.
But I want you guys to think about all the times that we've seen coaches who have spent longer than 3 cycles of Rugby World Cup in an environment. Gordon Titchens, 20 plus years with the New Zealand Sevens. How did he exit? Ian Foster, 12 years at the All Blacks. How did he leave? Yeah, I'm very focused on the New Zealand coaches at the moment. But, Gats is another example. I mean, he was at Wales for 12 years, had an illustrious career, and they called him back. And, in the professional realm, sometimes your cycle only goes from World Cup to World Cup because new ideas need to come, but also the coach needs to be invigorated with what they want to do. A coach can't be stagnant. In a school system, yes, because the principles are all the same. You are developing a kid to become a man or a boy to become a man. So not only are you looking at the principles of catch, pass, kick, tackle, and the fundamentals that go with that, but you're also looking at the personality, so the psychological side of the game. Build them into a disciplined person who has integrity, who understands what camaraderie is all about, who understands that when you go out on the field, you will put your commitment way and beyond the means that normal people do, because you are, number one, grown into becoming passionate about the game. So coaching in schools, yeah, that's a 20, 30-year career, and you leave a legacy in that career because you can sit back and say, all the players that rotated through my system have all become professionals, internationals, 100 caps here, 100 caps there. And you see that in all the schools, all the international blazers that hang up in the hallways. But when you come into the professional realm, the amount of time that you have to ignite connection with players, and you have the right budget, when you have all these other elements involved in your coaching career, it's got to be an invigorating atmosphere for a player, because the player is the entity, not the coach. If you look at all the professional sports, NFL, coach lasts 4 or 5 years maybe, but he bounces from team to team, and he has an illustrious career. But I think we have a couple exclamation marks within that realm. Bill Belichick, and I would personally do a lot more research to find out those little unique coaches that had a long lifespan. But in my perspective, and obviously needing to do a lot more research, in the professional realm, coaches haven't lasted beyond 2 cycles effectively. Then there's been mishaps, then there's been issues within the organisation, and they've had to quickly pull the plug and find another coach. So don't forget that. In the sporting world, the time is very finite, and that includes all management. So make the best of your things, and make sure that you are invigorating and it's exciting all the time. As soon as you start to feel it get stagnant, get on your toes and know that it's time to now find that new adventure and that new calling. Cool. Jim the Difference, my man for Super Rugby. I watched the Wales-Ireland game, and I watched the Highlanders Blues game. Those were my 2 games that I watched. I've obviously splattered highlights all over the show here through this talk, but yeah, super exciting. Looking forward to this weekend of rugby. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Cheers.